Good morning. Oh, frabjous day, Kalu Kale. So glad you're here. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. We are beginning a new worship series this morning called Monsters and Villains, with good, scary monsters on the screens. Ooh, very exciting. Our first hymn this morning is the first hymn in the hymnal. It's number 1. It's a beautiful hymn called May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. Please rise in body or in spirit. Drown the raucous shout. What a fantastic place to be. So glad you are here with us. It is the best place to be in Atlanta, Georgia on a Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Good morning. I'm not Kate. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta, a beloved community that changes lives. I am Barbara Begner, and I am so glad that you're here with us this morning. Wherever you are from, whomever you love, whatever path you are on, you are welcome here. If this is your first time, or if you've not yet had a chance, please stop by our Welcome Center in the social hall after the service to allow us to get to know you a little better. You can sign up to receive information about services and programs being presented over the next several weeks. All visitors and guests are invited to attend the weekly Inquirers class at 12:30 in room 1, just off the sanctuary. This week, the Inquirers will be discussing UU history, the 7 principles, and the 6 sources. I hope you'll plan to take advantage of this or one of the other religious education programs listed in your order of service. Do you have gently used books that your children or grandchildren have outgrown or no longer read? You can now give them a new life by donating them to the Fiesta de Libros. Simply put them in our new book collection bin in the social hall. Fiesta de Libros is a free lending library that provides books for immigrant children, toddler through high school. For more information, please check out the website www.fiestadelibros.com. And may we help each other deal with the coronavirus with common sense and not common panic. Please, this Sunday at UUCA, greet each other with an elbow tap or a bow, but refrain from hugging or shaking hands. Thank you. And now please be sure to take this moment to put your cell phones in their most reverent position. Thank you. And once again, so glad you're here on this lovely morning.
And this morning for our chalice lighting, I have a very special announcement. I am really excited to share with you the news that we are gaining a new community-affiliated minister, Reverend Megan Lloyd Joyner. Come on up. And I would love to also introduce you to Megan's family, her husband Anthony, her daughter Arden, and I believe there's a new family member on the way. Very exciting. Reverend Megan is a Unitarian Universalist minister who moved to Atlanta about a year ago or so to become a full-time chaplain at the Emory Winship Cancer Center. But she will be preaching here a few times throughout the year, and she will offer weddings and memorial services in the event that I am unable to do so. So I am really excited that Megan is here. She's also just going to be another supportive ministry presence here, sometimes on Sundays and in other capacities that we are still figuring out. But I am really excited to have Megan. So please check the weekly update for more information about what a community minister is and who Reverend Megan is and can be for us. And I would now love to invite Reverend Megan and her family to light our chalice this morning and lead us in our chalice lighting words.
Please join in the words that are printed in your order of service and highlighted on the screen. May the light of this flame
illuminate our tradition of seeking.
unite all who yearn for acceptance and unite our passion for justice and peace.
Thank you all so much. I wanted to make just a quick announcement. I just saw in the slides that it said that I would be preaching next Sunday, but in fact it won't be me. It'll be Reverend Meg Barnhouse. She's the senior minister at the UU congregation of Austin, Texas. She is a force to be reckoned with, and her wife, Kaya Hartwood, will be joining her as providing music. So the two of them are quite a power duo, so I hope you will come join us for worship next Sunday with Reverend Meg and Kaya. So now, won't you please turn to your neighbor, or for those of you who are watching online, maybe there's a neighbor in your room, and welcome them into this holy space with a namaste and a bow. The light in me sees the light in you.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? What are we? Where are we going?
They asked me, "Is this time worse than another?" I said, "For whom?" What we worship, we become. Now is the moment of apocalypse, unveiling, exploring the monsters and the villains we fear to face. Arm in arm, going out into the edges of our comfort, we are the search party, uncovering deceits, thought warfare, untangling the lies of those who abuse their power. We dig deeper for dignity, seeking a more rigorous wisdom. This is our common call.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? So this song's fun. It is a setting of the Jabberwocky. The Jabberwocky is a famous Lewis Carroll poem. The poem that it explores onomatopoeia. It makes up a whole bunch of words to sound like things. It opens with "'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe." Those aren't words, but it brings in all these great ideas and thoughts. The Vorpal blade goes snicker snack, and it's the perfect song to open a sermon series on monsters and villains. This is the Jabberwocky for choir and toy percussion.
And the slimy toes did gyre and gimble in the wave. Oh, Nipsey were the morals, and the moan rats out grave, and the moan rats out grave. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub, bird and Sean. The Frunia Spanders, the Frunia Spanders, the Frunia Spanders, the Frunia Spanders snatched. He took his bow, sword in hand, long time the Maxim for he sought. So rested he by the pirate's home tree, and fought. He stood a while in thought. And as in his body stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came rippling through the tawny wood. And burbled as it came, and burbled as it came, and burbled as it came. One, two, and through the Vorpal blade went snicker snack. The Vorpal blade went snicker snack. Snicker, 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 snack. He left him dead, and with his head he British boy. Oh, Frab, just take a look away. Each mortal in his joy, 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 his joy. Hey! Was Ridley and the slimy toe, the bar and gimble in the way. And the moon rise out green, and the moon rise out green. Oh, Francis Day, a look away. Oh, Francis Day, a look away, a look away. Oh, Francis Day, a look away.
In the wilds of New Jersey, a legend inspires a hunt by Dan Barry. These college-educated people who call themselves the Devil Hunters order a round of soft drinks that includes 2 Shirley Temples. They say they are the official researchers of the Jersey Devil, a shy specimen of cryptozoology that has haunted these parts long enough to have sent tri-cornered hats spinning from the mops of frightened colonists. Laura Luter, age 30, the group's president, already knows what you're thinking. Why don't these devil hunters wake up, walk down to that superfood town, and buy some coffee to smell? I'm the first one to say, yeah, I search for the Jersey Devil, haha, says Miss Loiter, who supervises a call center when not searching for devil spoor. But why, to this day, do people still report sightings, she wonders. Here's another question. Why do we wish for such things? Why do we root for the discovery of beings that would subvert our understanding of the natural order? Why, oh why, would a group of people actually hope that somewhere in the dark expanse beyond the fluorescent lights of a New Jersey strip mall, there frolics a devil? The beautiful and mysterious pine barrens can encourage such thoughts. A largely undeveloped swath of pines and oaks, swamps and bogs. It covers more than 1 million acres at the bottom of the country's most densely populated state, and has produced scores of legends and stories, though none as famous as that of the Jersey Devil. The most common version, dating to 1735, concerns a local woman named Mother Leeds. Married to a drunken ingrate and pregnant with her 13th child, she had what today might be called a moment. She expressed weariness with children and a wish that her unborn baby be a devil. Have you ever wished you could take back something you've said? Instead of greeting the world with coos, the story goes, the newborn mutated into a serpentine-tailed devil and introduced himself to family members by eating a few of them. He then flew up the chimney and out into the Jersey wilderness to begin centuries of shrieking, lurking, and occasional mauling. Maybe the birth of a deformed child led to the story's creation. Maybe parents concocted the tale to keep children from straying into the enveloping woods. Whatever the origin, the place of the devil in lore was secured in January 1909, when strange footprints, attacks on livestock, and reported encounters with the devil over several days created panic in parts of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Posses conducted searches, police officers fired guns, and school children and mill workers found reason to stay home. So ends the reading.
Come and find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are freed. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we may see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be.
Let us put hands upon hearts and feel the warm connection. Let love in this moment flow. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love will heal the world. At this time, we hear the joys and sorrows of this congregation. We hold in our hearts Tony Stringer and his family. Tony is being treated for suspected malaria and dehydration. He is recovering slowly. His family requests no cards, no emails, nor phone calls, but would appreciate your healing thoughts and prayers at this time. We send our love to UUCA members and all people throughout Atlanta who are employees at the CDC, many of whom are working overtime and are working under stressful conditions to manage the COVID-19 pandemic. We hold in our hearts people who are living in quarantine, or those who are living in fear of vulnerability to a new virus in a volatile time in our nation and world. May all beings find connection. May all people find comfort. May all of us find ways to be more loving to one another. At this time, you are invited to say the names of people you are holding in your heart this morning, people in need of a little more loving energy. Speak their names out loud into this holy space now. As humans have gathered for millennia, so we gather on this day to gently surrender to something beyond ourselves, to humbly acknowledge our mistakes, to ask forgiveness, to seek hope and renewal, to honor the earth that supports and sustains life, to remember that all beings are inextricably and mysteriously connected, to feel that connection. Now, we still our bodies, and we still our minds. We take in a big breath, we exhale. We ground ourselves and relax into this space that our intentions make sacred. We enter into the wise silence.
Come and find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are freed. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we may see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be.
Good morning. My name is Barry Weiner, and I'm the volunteer coordinator of Coming of Age at UUCA. For the uninitiated, Coming of Age is a program that pairs an 8th or 9th grader with an adult mentor who guides the youth through a spiritual journey from September to May. Through one-on-one meetings, class workshops, fun activities, and serving the community in need, we learn about ourselves, our UU faith, and each other. The year ends with the youth reading a credo in front of the church about what is important to them at this time in their lives. At the beginning of the year orientation, I ask all participants why they are here. We ask everyone to be honest, so we get a lot of, he made me, or she made me, while they point at their parents. Once we had a youth from a split religious family. The dad pointed at the mother and said, she made me. Coincidentally or not, that youth did not sign up. This morning I want to share with you why I am here. So I've been involved in COA for 5 years now, and this is my first year as coordinator. After working to get the program off the ground after a 1-year hiatus, I occasionally ask myself why I am here. I'm here because I believe in this program. Watching the youth grow from an orientation where they mumble answers with their hand over their mouth while looking at the floor, to standing up here and reading their credos in May, standing confidently and speaking clearly in front of all of you, sharing their beliefs. As you all probably know, the world is not going to fix itself. The more you youth that become you adults, the better the world will be. I'm here because I believe in this program, I believe in this church, I believe in this faith, I believe in this nation, and I believe in this world. As you know, there are many ways to serve this church and this RE program. If you're not interested in teaching RE, there are so many other ways to be involved with the children and youth in our congregation. We're looking for volunteers to be RE greeters, buddies, RE leadership team members, and more. Please look for more information at our RE recruitment fairs on Sunday, March 22nd and March 29th. To support the missions and ministries of UUCA, this morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. We do live in a time of monsters, and I don't know if you knew this. The Fruvius Bandersnatch has just been named the new White House Chief of Staff. So, little news for you. And so this is a song of encouragement. Then. It's always the people on the leading edge of change the world dismisses as confused or small or strange, but they're true to their vision and they're true to humanity, and they see a more perfect union, and their truth sets all of us free. You can't unring that bell, you can't unring that bell. Once you've rung that bell of freedom, can't ring that bell. The reins of power are so often held by those whose idea of freedom is to silence those they oppose. But freedom keeps on ringing, it echoes in the hearts of all people down the generations, and it's ringing here and now. You can't unring that bell, you can't unring that bell. Once you've rung that bell of freedom, can't ring that bell. Well, you can lose a battle and you can lose some ground, but you'll never unhear that sound of freedom. I want to tell you, there's no place I'd rather be than with you people on the right side of history. So let truth lead to wisdom, let wisdom lead to tolerance, let tolerance lead to justice, and let justice lead to peace. You can't unring that bell, you can't unring that bell. Once you've rung that bell of freedom, can't unring, you can't unring that bell, can't unring that bell. Once you've rung that bell of freedom, can't ring that bell.
Thank you so much, Roy, for being here and for worshiping with us. You can catch Roy again later today at a live concert here at 4 o'clock. So we're so grateful that he's here. And the freedom that we practice here, we know, is hard won. the freedom of belief. It is a rigorous act. It is a rigorous freedom to value each and every person and live into what that really means. And the joy that Don and I and Roy and everybody up here leading worship bring, well, that's a hard-earned joy. That's a rigorous joy. It takes work, working through doubt and struggle to get to that joy. And the wisdom we all seek here, deeper wisdom, deeper truth than what is just handed to us easily.
Now please join me in the dedication of the offering. The words are on the screen. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
So I have to tell you that you have Don Milton III to thank for this sermon not being a total bummer. See, it was going to be kind of a downer, but then last night I had the joyful opportunity to attend the Gay Men's Chorus of Atlanta's concert, Queens and Queen. And it was the epitome of making a joyful noise. To see 100 men on stage so free, so fierce, and fanboying out to artists who got them through difficult times in their own lives, well, that was a moment for dancing in the aisles if there ever was one. Though I was the only one dancing. That's okay. But my spirit is still dancing. She hasn't quite caught up with me yet this morning. However, with the exception of last night, and I am so grateful for it, I have been feeling pretty Lent-ish. In fact, I was grateful for all those days of dreary rain. Yes, this is the right time to work on this sermon. And then the sun came and I shielded my eyes. Perhaps you've been feeling this Lent season heavily too. I mean, when that groundhog said there would be 6 more weeks of winter, he really meant it this year. As it turns out, it may become more than 6 weeks. I'm really, really glad all of you decided to come here. And I am also so grateful to all of those who are watching from home, wherever you are. I will say it is a little ironic that even as I tell my children not to look for the monsters under their beds, not to heed the robber that chases them in their dreams, and to pay no mind to the shuffles they hear in the dark house, come Sunday morning, I'm telling you just the opposite. For as long as there have been humans, there have been stories of heroes. And as long as there have been heroes, well, they must have someone to fight. Villains. Even God had an entourage of monsters up in heaven who God could dispatch at various moments when God needed chaos to rain down to see what humanity might do, what innovative solution the humans might concoct, or simply how would they react, all of us, fish in a bowl. Some monsters, like the Leviathan, were primordial, who predated even the act of creation, recurring throughout the narrative and wholly destructive. Perhaps it's because I am the mother of boys, but I end each night with stories of dragons, robbers, orcs, and anti-heroes, all devising tests of courage, strength, will, and most of all, wit, creativity. For this reason, I have devised an absolutely pedestrian storyline to accompany the monsters and villains that I talk about each night, highlighting the adventures of Prince Makamaca. The stories have such titles as Prince Makamaca Goes to the Bank, Prince Makamaca Goes Out for Ice Cream, and Prince Makamaca Gets Picked Up from School and Arrives Home Safely in Time for Dinner. These too are nightly requests after all the dangerous stories have been told. Nothing much happens in Prince Mackamaca's suburban landscape, and we all like it there just fine. Both stories are true. Both the lilting meditative meanderings of a young prince who takes trips to the bank and arrives home from school unharmed, and the stories of monsters who lurk in dark caves, who prey on our fears and our vulnerabilities, be they because we are children, or we are women, or we are Black, or Latinx, or Asian, or we are queer, or we are transgender, or we are less powerful, or poor, or meek. Everyone has a villain, an enemy, a demon who can become overgrown and take up all the space in your psyche until someone returns you back down to a perspective that can only be found in relationship with others. Right now, one villain looms large for many of us. This is actually kind of helpful. It establishes a clear order for us amidst chaos. We can relish our stance as the good ones, united against one true monster. You know the one in the red hat. The one with the skin that seems to glow orange and the toupee that reveals a bald head like that of Lex Luthor. Another villain who was very fun to hate. Not only are we well into Lent, but today happens to be International Women's Day. This got applause in the first service. Come on. March 8th is also the day when, throughout my 20s, I often directed productions of the Vagina Monologues, often in Unitarian Universalist sanctuaries. On International Women's Day, I connect to the experience of all women across the globe, which is, sadly and unfortunately, often an experience of violence that women must survive if they do across the world. And I'm glad now that the word gaslighting has taken hold, has captured the American imagination during these days of apocalyptic unveiling in this world where more and more women have proclaimed, "Me too." Gaslighting, if you don't know, is a term derived from a play that premiered in London in 1938. The play was set in fog-bound London in 1880 at the upper middle class home of Jack Manningham and his wife, Bella. It is late afternoon. It is a time that is known as that the playwright writes, before the feeble dawn of gaslight and tea. Bella is clearly on edge, and the stern reproaches of her overbearing husband, who flirts with all the servants throughout the play, make matters much worse. What most perturbs Bella is Jack's unexplained disappearances from the house. He will not tell her where he is going, and this increases her anxiety. It becomes clear that Jack is intent on convincing Bella that she is going insane, even to the point of assuring her she is imagining that the gaslight in the house is dimming each night after he leaves. Technically, gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person or a group covertly sows seeds of doubt on a targeted individual, making them question their own memory, perception, or judgment, often evoking in them a cognitive dissonance and other changes such as low self-esteem at best. This particular monster, while it's a shapeshifter, makes it very difficult when doing battle. So, where do we go looking for that New Jersey devil in 2020? We have monsters for a reason. The lore of the Jersey Devil is a woman who was overrun by children, who perhaps uttered a blasphemous curse upon her own family out of exhaustion. I mean, who has not done that? But those times in America, well, that was enough to conjure a devil. out there in those woods. The women have often been the ones being gaslit and tortured by monsters, stolen away by dragons or giant apes, grabbed and taken up to skyscrapers. They are also blamed for conjuring those same monsters across legend and history, which is why, after a week of letting go yet again of that dream, the one that tells us girls that maybe if we persist beyond all expectation, maybe if we devise brilliant, beautifully concrete plans to save the entire country from ruin, that maybe we will become more than a mere afterthought in an election for our national leader. This is why women may be feeling particularly exhausted. March 8th, 2020. Yet, we will persist. We are the search party for the monster, because once it is known, it can be named. It can be unmasked, hunted. We can have it out. We can have that reckoning, which means we must attune ourselves to different energy, not always to hope, but to deep commitment to wisdom, to self-understanding, and most of all, commitment to each other. This concept of gaslighting, of lying, and attempting to create a whole different reality, well, it's much older than that 1938 play, of course. It's interesting because the play was written during a time when masses of people across Europe were being gaslit. They were having a new reality constructed around them, one that sought to polarize them and to turn them finally into either victims or survivors on a mass scale. I'm thinking it may be time for a revival of this production. In 2020, we must stay wise to the ways we are being manipulated now and polarized. The theologian and journalist Krista Tippett suggests change of this magnitude we are experiencing acts upon us psychologically, not just electorally. The truth is, there are so many ways that are not about politics, that are just about the air we breathe, how we define our identity, and the fact that we are the generation that is redefining marriage and community and gender. This human ground beneath our feet, well, it's shifting. Not to mention the economic ground, shifting, making it such an unsettled time. And sometimes I wonder if politics has really just become the thinnest of veneers over this, which is really just the human condition. And the person she's interviewing is Ezra Klein, another journalist, who talks about returning later in life to the Tao Te Ching, reading the Tao Te Ching and being deeply, deeply struck by its ideas of non-dualism. Its challenge to think about everything is also encoding its opposite. So much about what we are taught to think, very much in politics, but also in general, is that things are just one way. They are right or they are wrong. We got it right or we got it wrong. This person won and this person lost. It's a clean equation. It has one answer every single time. And Klein says the deep truth about the Obama presidency is that the Trump presidency was within it the entire time. And the story does not end there. Ezra Klein goes on to talk about journalism today. He says, I think there is a deep way in which we are being manipulated into a constant state of emergency. And it would be one thing if that were a productive emotion. But what I think is that it leads to a constant state of either exhaustion or hypervigilance. Who's with me? Feeling that. Exhaustion or hypervigilance, both of which can be destructive in their ways. And when we become pulled into that polarizing narrative, we lose all the other stories in our world that are also true. There's a whole other narrative to the stories of our lives, which is actual people, real people in real places, stitching our country back together, one relationship at a time. It happens right here in this community. I am honored to bear witness to it. It's happening all around us. But it is very hard to make that narrative into a riveting story in this age of constant information. It's difficult to make that into a riveting story the way it's easy to make something terrible or a disaster or an evil person into a riveting story. Ezra Klein invites us to step back from the narrative of good versus evil and shock and confrontation that we are being drawn into constantly. The truth is, we can have a much greater impact on our local political system than we can on the national one, no matter who is president. We can build relationships, build connections, and a sense of personal empowerment if we change our news diet to local issues. Get involved in the issues that matter to our local community. So if your news diet right now is 90 national news and 10% local news, Ezra Klein suggests you push that pendulum swing a little further in the other direction. See, there are so many insidious forces that wish to draw us into this hero and villain narrative. It's such an old concept, this gaslighting of people for powerful gain. It is so old, well, I wondered if it was biblical. And this week, I have been drawn to what was probably the first or the second book of Scripture ever written, Proverbs, based on Egyptian wisdom sayings passed down ancestrally. I have always loved the wisdom Proverbs. Wisdom, maybe it's because wisdom is generally personified as female. And she warns against various forms of knowledge that are not of God, which you could also say are of your heart, of heart knowledge, of grounding knowledge. The act of discerning one's truth is a spiritual discipline. It's a devotional and a sacred conversation with one's true core. So here, from Proverbs, listen. Does wisdom not call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? At the highest point along the way where the paths meet, she makes her stand. Beside the gate leading into the city, at the entrance she cries aloud, "To you, O people, I call out, to raise my voice to all humankind. To the discerning, all of them are right. They are upright to those who have found knowledge. Choose my instruction instead of silver, knowledge rather than gold. For wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her." Wisdom calls out, calls to all people. And today we see women calling out their abusers, taking down gaslighters who were once seen as great. Wisdom is powerful when she raises her voice. You can find this too in the lyrics of spirituals. You can find great anguish and lamentation within, giving voice to the fear, unveiling the monster's true nature. My colleague, Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd, writes about how in the Black church tradition, people stand when the Black national anthem starts. They may raise their hands, ball their fists, grasp their neighbors on the arm, while singing the words that are uniquely endowed to Black Americans through their history of oppression and courageous resistance. The lyrics carry on fearlessly and without flinching. Listen, we have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. These words describing a violent path toward freedom, well, this is healing lament, giving voice to the pain, to the slaughter, to the gloom of the past. Well, this is a significant step to constructing a healing future. But the monster must be named and found out and lifted out of the silent hiding places where they thrive and wish to remain always. What are you most afraid of? Every monster needs a search party. With our lamplights, our flashlights, and our maps, we can enter the dark woods together, like those Scooby-Doo characters. Together, we can unmask the culprit, find the truer and often scarier thing underneath. Perhaps it is within our own nature. We can name it, we can sing it, testify to it, we can call it by its true name. Pull away the mask, and then we can see that the monster is not, in fact, a virus. It is the panic combined with an untrustworthy leader, combined with racism, combined with self-interested hoarding that creates chaos and destruction. That's the monster. If you encounter this particular beast that messes with your reality, will you just shine your light up to its face? Share your story. Name your reality, your internal core of deep wisdom. Women's voices, women's strength to stop the monster in their tracks and say, this person is harassing me. This is happening to me. This is real. We can all call up on this strength of women's truth-telling, whether or not we are women, to speak our truth, to confess our wrongdoings. Well, that also reveals a monster. And we'll talk about that later on in our series. But this is the work of Lent. So welcome to the world of Lent. This is women's work. This is all of our work toward a different kind of hope, a new commitment. We will embark together on what my colleague, Reverend Dr. Daniel Cantor, calls moral alchemy, turning a villain into something new, turning our hero stories around on their heads with our deep inner wisdom that we are just more complex than any Marvel movie would have us believe. So speak your truth. Seek deeper wisdom. And join each other's search parties. In this way, we will connect to a longer, deeper narrative, one beyond good and evil. And we will stay connected to what Tillich called our ground of being. And I'll be with you too. This will get us through. Oh yeah. May it be so. Blessed be.
Our last hymn this morning is Answering the Call of Love. Please rise in body or in spirit. If you pull out the hymnal, it says Standing on the Side of Love. The words were changed. We're using these words now. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our heart is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love. So we're not going to join hands together, but hearts can still beat as one. I hope you will join us at 4 o'clock today for Roy Zimmerman's concert. I think I've seen Roy in concert like 10 times, and I still roll on the floor laughing every time. Absolutely spectacular. He'll be right here in the sanctuary. It's embarrassing, I know.
If you wish, you can touch elbows, or as you wish. Love calls us to dig deeper for deeper truth, where dignity lives, to push past rumors, gossip, lies, monsters of all kinds, to dig deeper. Love calls us to be the ones stitching the fabric of our country back together. Love calls us to stay connected to each other, though forces would have us isolate. Love calls us to stay connected to our ground of being. Go with this call. Go in love. Go in peace. Amen. Blessed be. Oh yeah.